thank you all for joining me today and for taking, almost an hour out of your day to walk through our Crystal Stairs branding and communications presentation. I'll try to keep things very concise and brief, but also informative so that you can step out of this training with as much information about Crystal Stairs, about our communications policies and our branding policies, so that you can be successful in your department's goals and initiatives. So, brief little agenda for the day. We're going to take a brief look into who Crystal Stairs is, our external affairs department, this department here, and then we'll go into the agency branding. We'll discuss logos, colors, photo use. We'll even dive into incentive items a little bit. Next, we'll briefly tackle our style guide. We have a document style guide that helps us understand how to use Crystal Stairs trademarks, how to use numbers and stuff of that nature, fonts and text. Then we'll go into the various communications platforms that we have, how to request various services of external affairs, such as getting an email sent out, an email blast sent out to thousands of people, putting out text messages, updating content on the website, stuff of that nature. And then finally, we'll just briefly talk about strategic communication, how we put all of these different platforms together to build a comprehensive outreach communications plan for your department initiatives or grant initiatives or whatever your department needs, putting those together in a smart and strategic framework. So, first, introductions. So, external affairs exists in about 3 vehicles of topics. You have fundraising. So we help coordinate and plan fundraising activities. We just did the Dancing Under the Stars fundraiser really late in the year last year in November. We do the website fundraising platform. We use Kindful and GiveSmart as well. We also identify other funding opportunities or grant opportunities. We've worked with the US Census and got a huge grant to get that out, and that was big fundraising. Cultivating relationships with funders, foundations, and individual donors is a lot of what we do at the External Affairs Department. A big aspect of the work that I specifically do and Manny specifically does is the communications aspect. That's promoting consistent agency messaging, manage our brand, our website, social media, any media relations, and increase awareness about Crystal Stairs and the various programs that lie within. And lastly is our advocacy and public policy vehicle, which is maintaining relationships with elected officials and stakeholders, tracking legislation as it pertains to ECE priorities and public policies impacting our work. We're a child care organization first and foremost, and implementing the Community Voices program for parents and providers, which advocates workshops, trainings, and legislative visits. So that's just a brief little look at external affairs and what we do. And this obviously is going straight into the communications and the branding. So we will dive right in there. So a little bit of a test for you all. Which logos are approved for staff use? Go ahead and use the chat right now. Open up your chat window and just start putting in what number you think is the correct CSI logo. And I'll give you one hint. There are only 2 correct answers. I'll give you guys 10 seconds. Let me see what I got here. All right, you guys are diving in. We got some B's and H's and B's, B's and H's. Oh, everyone's pretty confident in B and H. Oh, Rudy added J, so he's going a little left field from everyone else. Let's see. All right, let's see who got it right. B and H. Ooh, Rudy. Okay, so let's walk through this a little bit. So as you can see in A, it's a stenciled version of our logo, which we do not do. We've done it in the past, and it messes with the um, the branding of our logo, and the text is hard to read. B is just a black version, a flat version of our original logo, which is the H logo. You can see in C that the logo has been slightly pushed inward, stretched in a way, stretched up. And D, the same has happened. It's been kind of pulled out a little bit, and also you can see that the text of Crystal Stairs is just a little bit more bolded than usual. Likewise, in E, the text is too thin. In F, now this was the original. F and G are our original and older logos. So they at one time were the correct logo to use. However, we are no longer using those. The colors got slightly updated to match current trends with color use. So H is our logo. With I, the Crystal Stairs text has been removed, which we do not do. And then in J, the reason why J is wrong is because the color. We never colorize our logo outside of it being black, white, or navy. So a little bit more on the logo. So Crystal Stairs logo is a powerful symbol of the individual and collective mission to protect childcare for working families and our unwavering belief in social justice. The original concept of Crystal Stairs and its name takes root from the poet Langston Hughes, and I'm actually going to take us to our beautiful website right now and show you guys a little piece here that you may not know. So, we our name is reflected by the poem From Mother to Son. How many of you out there knew that? You can text me in the chat feature if you knew. Mother to Son. And let's just briefly put that up on the screen here. So in this poem, Mother to Son by Langston Hughes, Langston Hughes refers to life not being a crystal stairs. And it's this aspect of walking up the ladder of life. And life is difficult for this mother. And she's trying to make a pathway for her son to have a better life. And so that's the epitome of what crystal stairs is meaning, is we are providing that better life for our families to thrive and live and have a better aspect, have the services that they need to succeed. So we'll go back into this PowerPoint presentation and go again into our logo. So some things to just keep in mind about our logo with an area. So when using our logo, we want to make sure that we keep in mind some things. All right, minimal size. If for those of you who do incentive item purchases or look at different items that you need for purchase, there is a minimum size. If and that's the first thing that you should be asking when you're looking at an incentive item, is how small that logo imprint area is. Once the logo gets reduced to about 5 millimeters in height, it starts to bleed over. So if it's going to be a screen print on a pen, for instance, a lot of times these pens, they don't have a big enough imprint area for a Crystal Stairs logo. And in that case, we cannot use that logo on that pen. Otherwise, Crystal Stairs will not be legible. We also just want to make sure that we maintain a safe area around that Crystal Stairs. You can actually take the C on the Crystal Stairs and put it kind of around the logo and use that as a distance between the Crystal Stairs logo and something else. You should never run the logo up against an item or another organization's logo. So I have that at the bottom there. And lastly, just combining logos. We want to make sure that there's that space around using that C as a guideline. So for those of you who use Canva to make flyers, just keep in mind the distance between the logo, our logo, and someone else's logo, or even our two logos, Head Start and Crystal Stairs. So some logo misuses, and we covered these slightly in the little quiz that I ran you guys through. So we never remove the text from the logo. Yes, we have a plaque outside on the Slauson entrance where this was done. This was many, many years ago. We don't do that anymore. So there should never be a case where the Crystal Stairs text is being taken off the logo anymore. Just keep in mind that in times when you provide your logo to a vendor, they may try to recreate our logo, but our logo uses a very distinct font called ITC Avant-Garde Gothic Pro. And so if they don't have access to that font, they may not be able to recreate our logo for whatever vendor needs they need. So just keep in mind when working with vendors that if they end up redesigning our logo for us, it needs to match the Crystal Stairs logo and should be using ITC Avant-Garde font. We do not stretch or squish. Those of you who use the arrows to pull and push on logos, always drag from the corners. The corner will scale the logo out proportionately. And again, colorization. We do not color our logo anything other than navy blue, white, or black. So more on the colorations. So depending on what you're using our logo for and what the logo will be applied against, you might have to use a certain color of the logo or not. So for instance, we have a logo here where the Crystal Stairs has transparent stairs in the middle here. And that's a problem because now it looks like our logo permanently has gray stairs. That's not on brand. So in this case, we would use this version of the logo with the white. Now, where this actually matters most is in incentive items. If an incentive item has a white background, then you can use the Crystal Stairs just one color toned logo. That's just navy blue because the logo will be placed on a white background already. However, if you're looking for an item that has a different color, for instance, gray or it's orange, now you need to request for a two-color toned imprint area. And not all incentive items give you access to multiple colors. In fact, a lot of incentive items will only give you one color options. So you be mindful of that. You cannot use that. You cannot use the Crystal Stairs logo if the stairs will be another color underneath that. And then lastly, transparent use. So you can use the white or the black logo depending on different items, but just be mindful again of the colors that come through those stairs, that they match either the inverted or the all black logo. And do not we want to, whenever possible, use our actual colored logo. We do get a lot of requests for white logos because the vendor can only print in one color. We will approve those at times, but if we get the sense that we continue to get a white logo request for things, we may say to you or ask you to see if that logo can be printed in two colors, because our logo is first and foremost navy blue and white. It is not white, it is not black. It's first and foremost this. These are secondary options which should be entertained if it's needed. So where are these logos kept? We have dozens of logos available for use in the shared folder, not on SharePoint, but on the shared folder. So if you go to your shared folder, the S drive, you'll notice by the S, it's smack dab on the first folder file. You'll see it called CSI logos, and I have outlined each program area and their logos. We provide logos as colored images, JPEGs and PNGs, or in vector file. So you have access to both of those options for each program area. Please refrain from saving your own images of logos to your desktop, because if we ever go in and change something or update something, then you're going to be using an old version. So just always check back in with the CSI folder to make sure that you're using the most up-to-date logo. So just a couple of things about the power of colors. Colors influence our perception. They help us understand gender and culture. They influence shoppers' decisions. They increase our awareness of a company. They hold true to what we believe about a different organization and who they are. Colors affect our behaviors, our mood. They can make us hungry. They can stress us out. Have any of you seen an ugly color and it just made this visceral response happen to you? I'm sure we all have a color that kind of just interacts with our soul in a visceral way. 93% of shoppers focus on visual appearance alone when they consider a purchase. Beautiful things, pretty things often entice us to go and pursue them. So there's power in color and there's power in appearance and branding. And so do not dismiss the power of color. And we'll go into why. So let's look at this little quiz here. This is going to be a little bit of a test of brand awareness. So just type in the chat what comes to mind when you see these two colors. And for the most part, there are no wrong answers. Amy says fast food. We've got Maya with McDonald's. Jesus with In-N-Out. Yeah, McDonald's, clown, USC. I like it. I like it. What about Lay's? And I also thought McDonald's. Very similar, right? It's crazy that these two colors can just instantly bring us somewhere. We're hungry now. We want some chips. We want, a hamburger. How about these colors? Let's see what you got here. Yeah, use the chat and type in what do you guys think? A fair? Anyone else? Hot dog on a stick? That's the first. Parachute? Okay. Very interesting. I feel like when I show you this, you guys are gonna face palm yourself a little bit. How about Google? Let's try another one. This one I know you guys know. What comes to mind here with these colors? Green, black, and white. Starbucks, Enterprise. Yeah, some of you guys went here this morning and grabbed something to fuel yourself. Yep. Starbucks for sure. So why use those colors? Why can't we just color anything we want in the moment, right? Well, here's a picture of McDonald's. Is there anything off about this photo? Yes, yes, the colors are weird. What about the colors? Yeah, they're not right. It seems weird seeing a McDonald's with a green roof as opposed to the traditional red roof. Let's look at some other stuff. So we have on the left the right colors and on the right the wrong colors. Imagine seeing a UPS truck roll up to your house and it's bright blue like that, or grabbing a drink of Coca-Cola and it's a weird yellow vomit color. Red Starbucks, purple Home Depot. It just feels wrong in the moment of looking at that. It doesn't align with our beliefs about that company. So it likewise, because when people look at us, we want to make sure that they keep seeing the same consistent message. And over the past 6, 7 years, we've been really tied to this navy blue. The logo was redone, and we've been focusing on using these core colors, the navy blue and this Crystal Stairs orange. And these are primary colors. It's not to say that you can't use a pink, you can't use a little green here and there, but these are primary aspects that should be applied to our branding. I'm sure McDonald's has green stuff for their St. Patrick's Day, but they still use a primary red for their branding. So we have to keep in mind our primary colors. And on this sheet, we have the PMS codes, which help us identify the colors for the vendor. So when a vendor asks for a PMS code, this helps them stay consistent so that they can get our exact shade of navy blue. So we have a coded and uncoded PMS color, as well as CMYK for print, RGB for digital, and hex code. So we also have secondary colors that are supplied for you all. So these are mainly used by Head Start, but also can be used for any other program to use. But again, we should be using these primary colors as headers, as aspects to highlight our crystal stairs, flagship color, and then we use accented colors for everything else. And again, it's not to say that other colors can never be used ever, but they should be third, tertiary. They should be a second to all of this. So let's talk about image and photography use. So when we use photography well, it'll do these three things. It'll tell a meaningful story, it'll highlight our programs and the people who are inside it, and it connects with our audience, right? How powerful is it to see real kids that are in our Head Start schools, real parents that are coming to our classrooms or to our programs? When we see these fake stock photos, it's obvious to everyone in the room that it's a stock photo, and it gives off this sense of impersonal inauthenticness, right? And so when we want to be thoughtful, and so we've taken the measures to make sure that we have good cameras that can take good quality photos, and we make those accessible to people with our link here. So we provide this to you all in our communications presentation. So after this presentation, we'll give you a copy of the presentation, and you can click on these links to access the logos and the photos. But on this drive, we have access to all of the photos that you'd need to show off your program. We also update those photos regularly, so that we have new photos, kids without masks, and in their new programs. So lastly, just staying around with the visual image, we want to make sure that, again, that when we use photos, that we're identifying the children that we serve. Our demographics are primarily African American and Latino. So we want to just make sure, even if it is our photos that we're using, that we're acknowledging this diversity when we're using them. We want to stay clear of any copyrighted clip art, and just in clip art in general. If those of you who are using Canva, make sure that you are using the Canva actual elements. It is illegal to go into Google and download a photo from Google and put it on a flyer. That is someone's copyrighted artwork or photos, and we could get in a lot of trouble for using their property. So use Canva or SharePoint art only, and just be cautious of clip art with children and teachers. A lot of times they're not very aware of our cultural differences, and so we just try to use more just a general abstract art, clip art. And then just be aware of how you crop parents. You might want to focus in on this child right here who is smiling, but in the process, you just chopped off her eyes, and we can kind of still see her, but her head is off, and so it's just weird for the viewer to have that there. So when we crop things, we want to make sure that we crop them fully. All right. So next up is some of you may have noticed this Cynthia St. James art piece on certain walls. Maybe someone has a portrait of this in their office. We have a mural of this art piece in our front desk lobby. It's a beautiful piece of artwork that we actually commissioned from Cynthia St. James. This was made specifically for Crystal Stairs. And so her artwork has the similar style. So so you might have even seen something like this before. But this is unique to us, and it is for us. It's a reflection of our children and of our families. Because this is a precious piece of artwork, we do only use it for high level things. So no one is authorized to use this artwork unless they were given authorization from the CEO or the Director of External Affairs. So now we're going to dive really briefly into incentive item and procurement and branding, because for many of you, this is your bread and butter. You need to get an item, printed. You need to get a couple of ponchos or some pens, or you want to get a booklet, right? And so here are just 4 things that will help you in your procurement and branding. So first and foremost, you need to think about your audience. Who are you serving? And make sure that the item is appropriate to that audience. What do they want? The worst thing that we could do is spend thousands of dollars on items that just get thrown out into the trash. And for many of you who've gone to conferences before, you know firsthand. You pick up all these items from all these different booths, and then probably 1 to 2 items only make it back to your office, right? And you typically will choose the items that have the most applicable use for you. So teachers in Head Start, make sure that those items are fit for the parents that they're going to be going to, or the children that are going to be playing with them, or the teachers that are going to be using them, right? What value does it give the audience, and how will the audience interact with that item? We want to make sure that that item has purpose. And what is the purpose of that item? Is it serving a marketing standpoint? Is it purely to have a backpack that has our logo so that when kids go to school or are in their neighborhood, they can see the Head Start logo and the call number? Is it a gift? In that case, we want it to be beautiful and pretty for them to have and cherish that. Maybe it's a more expensive item because of that. What will be the use frequency of that item? Will it be used often? Does it reflect our values or our missions? Here's some oak imprinted items. They're nice oak printed items, but slapping our logo, does that tell the parent, the child, the teacher anything about Crystal Stairs by putting it on this? No, it doesn't really. It's just a thing that probably will be thrown out. So be mindful of its purpose. Quality and life expectancy. Is the item durable enough? Is it something that's cheap, that's going to be last maybe a couple of months and then rip up? Is it something that will that they'll keep with for the entire year, like a calendar planner? Right, so we want to be aware of the quality of life of that item, and then imprint color and size. So just and this is very important when working with purchasing, or when getting your own your own procurement items. Make sure that you communicate to the vendors how many logos are on, how many colors are on that logo. The Crystal Stairs Head Start logo has 1, which is blue, 2, which is white, 3, which is red, 4, which is black, and 5, which is yellow. 5 imprint colors. Not a lot of items have, not a lot of incentive items have 5 color imprint area. So you need to have that conversation with the vendor ahead of getting stuck on one item. A lot of times when I interact, or when Manny interacts with different people trying to get an item approved for purchase, we have to go back and forth because the item cannot be printed in the full color. And again, if we can use the full color item, why don't we? It's our logo. It's again, we want to attribute our logo and have people memorize that logo, or memorize those colors. And just doing a black version or a white version does not fit our branding guidelines, at least not all the time. So we want to just make sure that we communicate and work with the vendor. A lot of times they'll provide options. So maybe you see a bag that you want, it's not available in the colors that you need, but you can ask for maybe an item that does have that's approximate, and the vendor should be able to help you, identify a new item that is similar in some way. So next, we're going to dive into style guide. And for the most part, I'm going to skim through a lot of this. I will, again, in an email, follow up with you all with a document that has all of this information. So we're going to talk just briefly about the typeface family. So we should always be capitalizing Crystal Stairs Inc., the C, S, and the I. Remember your commas in front of in front of stairs in the period after Inc. Remember, again, this is kind of just proper grammar. Your headings and titles, using the proper job descriptions when you're presenting yourself to someone in an email format. We want to make sure that on your email that you're set to Century Gothic, Calibri, or Arial. These are the approved fonts. Now, this isn't for those of you who use Canva and update flyers. Flyers are a different story. Those can have different types of font, different types of formatting there. This is more just for formal letters. So if you're doing a letterhead, for instance, or you're doing an email, you should be using these guidelines. Points, your font size should be no less than 11. Anything less than that is hard to read, and no larger than 14 point. And then again, using Century Gothic, Calibri, or Arial for your font type. We also have guidelines for numbers, the proper usage of our telephone, and just briefly a translation. Keep in mind that, again, we have English and Spanish speakers. So we might need to, depending on your program, we might need to have that translated into Spanish if you only did English. That under no circumstances should the Crystal Stairs mission and statement or the logo be translated, though. Those stay in English. And then here are just some legal guidelines. We did get the trademark for Crystal Stairs Inc. If it's applicable for you to use, these are some correct and incorrect usages of the Crystal Stairs trademark. Again, I'll be providing this document for you all to use if that is applicable for you or not. And then lastly, make sure that you update your signature block. It's important that each of us have a signature that matches one another so that when we pass, when a parent reaches out to me, they are confirmed that they are reaching out to an official Crystal Stairs representative because our signature blocks look the same. It's very, very unsettling for people to reach out to someone and there's nothing there underneath their email because it looks like someone just forged or fished their email. So we want to all have a very similar logo, either this Crystal Stairs signature block or the Head Start signature block. And again, this will be provided in a document where you can actually just copy and paste the signature block into your Outlook signature, and then you'll be able to edit the details there to match your own. These are just the guidelines here. Again, this will also be added as well. That shows you how to update your signature block. So, all right, we're cruising through. We got about 20 minutes, which is good. We're gonna talk a little bit about communications and the platforms that are available to you. So, the types of things that EA is responsible for updating or managing is flyers, email through MailChimp, social media through text, the website, and mailing. So these are some things that you might need for your event. You might need to plan a flyer, or maybe you need to set a digital communication to your constituents. Maybe you want to update the website to reflect a new change in your programs or an event that you want to be posted on the website, right? So all these things would require an EA request form. Really, just a couple of things I just want to interject here is that for social media, we have one account, one site. No one has authorization to create their own social media account for your program. There is no Bridge social media account. There is no Head Start social media account. It's all under Crystal Stairs. It all lives under the same house. If you have questions about use of social media on Crystal Stairs, reach out to external affairs and we'll guide you through that. But I hope this training will provide some sense of information for you. Additionally, If you have questions about which of these would be helpful for your program or for your event, a quick call to external affairs or an email to external affairs for assistance is usually a great starting point. A lot of times I've seen every department just want to do a flyer for the sake of having a flyer. But for most cases, you're not physically distributing these flyers, which means that we spend a lot of time designing something pretty that is never physically distributed. And in most cases, an email with just a nice header and some good information is more efficient use of time in terms of getting the communication out and being consistent and aligning a plan for this than spending a week designing a flyer that's going to be emailed regardless. So external affairs is here to help identify which of these would be best for you or working with you to align under your goals. So let's dive into each and every one of these. And just as a little side note, with social media, we do offer paid advertising, and it's something we hope that you all talk to your managers about. So there are great opportunities to really reach out to your constituents. Each platform has its audience, which is good to keep in mind. Facebook is really for boomers and people around 25 to 34. YouTube is a much younger audience. Instagram also is that younger millennial and Z generation. Twitter is more business focused. It's a smaller audience. We have Indeed, which again is more professional focused. We do not use TikTok currently, but it's something we're looking into. And then a Snapchat, which again, we also don't use. It's more impersonal and not connected to our work. When we do social media marketing, we've had incredible results with a budget of, I believe it was 500 bucks. I was able to reach over 400,000 people with a message on gender inequity and bridging the racial gap. This is just a brief little snapshot of that. We did, sorry, it was just under 500. Reached a total impression of 120,000 people, total engagements 4,292. So very minimal amount. This just ran for about a week and we targeted a bunch of people, got the word out on our communication, and it was very successful. Here's a brief little example of my flyer to email. What's more impactful, putting together the time and status of putting this all and then never distributing it physically to people, or having it in buildings where people can grab them, or getting out this email that kind of just summarizes it in a header and puts all the information above. So that's kind of our job as external affairs, is to work with you and just kind of ask questions, see what you're trying to do, and we'll guide you along. But having that understanding too, you may say, I don't think we need a flyer. I think we just need to have a good email and maybe a couple social media posts if it's a public event, and we should be able to target our audience pretty easily. So how do we request these things from external affairs? So we have a request form. It's available here and it's also on the SharePoint. And basically how this works, and actually I'll briefly just guide you guys to this because it's helpful to have. So on the SharePoint page, we have the, if you go into the External Affairs All Agency site, we'll go here. We see the EA request form right here. Also, the EA communications branding trainings are available above. If you ever need to review this stuff again, you can access it here. And we also have communications and stuff planned here. The PowerPoint and the documents that I alluded to, they're all here. So the presentation, the updated one, will be here, as well as the Outlook, a signature guide, and our policies. But this is what our EA request form looks like. And we go into a little bit of a story here of how we use this form, what to keep in mind. But it's a very simple and straightforward form in which you outline that you've spoken to your supervisor, manager, director for this request. You give us that information and your information. And then really, we break it down into 3 sections. Are you asking us to create something? Are you asking us to review or approve something, or are you asking us for communications and outreach assistance? So sending out an email, texting, a social media campaign, update to the Crystal Stairs website. Let me go back to the PowerPoint I had for you. So just keep in mind creation requests, right? If we've done a pretty good job of giving everyone access to Canva, each department should have its own Canva, and it's a shared account. So we might need to point you to the person in your department who has the login credentials or information. But each department should have Canva, and you should have the ability to create and design your own flyers. Really, you'd be reaching out to EEA to do it if it's a more advanced flyer. So for instance, if it's something that is going to be used throughout the year for outreach and distribution, it's something big, like a childcare referral flyer, right? That's something that's big. It's going to be uniform, be used for several years, right? EA would love to work on that. If it's something for like a personal, or not personal, but it's for an event, a one-off event, maybe it's a parent meeting that you want a flyer for, it's a parent council meeting, right? That's something that's small scale. Maybe it's 20 people that are participating in that event. It takes a lot of time to put these things together, so we'd ask that you work on that event, and then you would send us the review and approval of that flyer. So that's kind of the difference there. So if you're asking us to create something, those requests can take up to 3 weeks to fulfill. Depending on just how complex these items are. Guidebooks, booklets, even infographics can be complex and require a couple of revisions, and going back and forth between us and your team to make sure that we're communicating the communications in that graphic well. So these can take times. And again, everyone's reaching out to us every second of the day for something. So we don't always have the time to dedicate those hours to do that immediately. We have the review and approval of branding and communications. So that looks like, again, if you have the Canva account and you're doing a parent council meeting, you would be responsible for putting out that graphic or that flyer for that event, and then you would send us the review of that flyer. You'd give us the Canva link to edit. We'll just look at the flyer, make sure it all looks good, and then we would give you the thumbs up that it's good to go, or we'll make some changes, update the flyer, and then you're good to go. This also pertains to promotional items, incentive items like water bottles, t-shirts, hats, and also the approval of like CSI files like PowerPoint presentations, formal letters. Now, this last part right here is really more for big scale things. If you have personal PowerPoints that are scaled down for small meetings, we don't need to approve every small flyer, right? Most of your, presentations, most of your presentations are personal presentations for specific uses that are being only given to a small group of people. However, things like Kappa, big conferences where those presentations are going to be presented to thousands of people, then EA should be notified that our proprietary information is going to be used in this presentation, and we'd like to look at that to make sure that you're not using our logo incorrectly and that you're on brand and not using some weird PowerPoint presentation that no one created. So that's where that would take place. And then finally, communications assistance is right there. That's assistance in communications, marketing. That's through like a targeted email campaign or a through text campaign, doing social media, updates to the website. So I'm going to start speeding through because we're about 9 minutes till the hour, and I want to get you guys out fast. I'll just kind of skim through some of these here. So we just even talked about this Canva. If you don't have access to Canva, please reach out to External Affairs to identify the Canva account for you. We can definitely set you up with that. Review, make sure that again you're using the updated logos. This is what we often receive. We get, the vendor will more often than not change our logo for us, and they'll say, here's an option. we're not going to listen to what the vendor wants to do. If they can't do our logo, then we're not going to use it. So here's, an instance where they took apart our crystal stairs on the text on the logo, right? That's not approved. That's not cool. We're not using that. Again, this is an old logo that they used. Um, and just as a side note here, we can type out Crystal Stairs Inc. And there's actually a logo version of our text version. So you can use this Crystal Stairs Inc. There just shouldn't be our stairs mark then. So next, communications assistance. We have tons of platforms to be able to promote your media on, from email to SharePoint. We're here to work with you. So it's even setting up a meeting to identify those things. We'd love to put together a plan for you, especially if we can do it in a way where we're strategically inconsistently promoting it on a weekly basis. That usually gets the word out. It's not just sending the email once and then hoping and praying that people show up. It's saying, let's send, an intro, save the date email 3 weeks ahead. The second week before the event, we'll send another email targeted to the individuals. We'll send a text message to them as well. We'll post to social media the week before the event, letting everyone know about it again. We'll send a confirmation email the day before. So we start having those conversations about your event and how we can best make sure that the people show up and that they know about it. Here, a lot of times, we get really bared down text. So here's kind of like a brief example of like some information that someone sent to us. And so we looked at that and we were like, okay, well, that doesn't really tell us anything about this event. So when you do put in your requests for an email, give us as much information as you possibly can. You don't need to be a wordsmith. We understand that this isn't your job, that you take care of kids. You're, doing cases and stuff. We understand that. You don't have to be a wordsmith, but the more that you can provide for us as like what's happening at that event, the more that we can help you in creating and crafting that message so that it's more informative and it grabs the eye. So lastly, I'm going to skip through email marketing because we just kind of just talked about that. The website, we have a beautiful new website. We just launched it in December of 2023. And the best thing about this is that updating the website has never been easier. So please, we ask that each department looks on the website and manages their page. So, we have a couple of Head Start pages. External Affairs is not reviewing the page and going to reach out to Head Start to tell them, hey, we think your stuff is out of date. It's really upon each department to make sure that their web page is updated. So childcare subsidy, we'd expect you guys to go look at your childcare subsidy information there. If anything is wrong, or maybe you have a new information that's important to share, you would need to go check and look and then update that information. And again, the way to update that's really easy. Send in a request. We'll take a look and do it. Amy sent in a request just today, and we were able to update it in a matter of a couple of minutes. So it's not a big task, but it does require the patience of filling out that form. Social networks, just as a reminder, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Our handles are Crystal Stairs LA for Twitter and Instagram, but on Facebook, we didn't have that accessible to us, so it's crystal.stairs1. Through text, just briefly, is a platform that allows us to communicate to your constituents via text. It works in a unique manner. It is not a click a button and it sends out. When you ask for a through text, you, the requester of this, will be the one sending out the texts. So we would set you up with a through text account, and we would tee it all up. So we would set up the campaign for you, but you would be sending the individual text. The way this works is almost like an instant messenger. It allows you to go through the contacts one by one, and it pre-populates your original campaign message. But after all the messages are sent, it will tell you who got what, if they replied back, and any information. You can have perpetual conversations with those people. So this is actually a great way to have surveys and to talk about certain things with your constituents in a more person-to-person manner. It is not an auto bot to send out text messages. So keep that in mind. So we're just here at the end now. So what is strategic communications? We just talked about a bunch of different communications tools that we can use. So what does it mean to be strategic? Strategic communications is the deliberate and planned approach to conveying informations, ideas, and messages to achieve specific organizational goals. Some of the key elements are understanding who our audience is, what do they need, what are we offering to them. It's not just, hey, we're doing this event, come. You have to really talk to yourself and talk to your supervisors about the mythos of this event that we're doing, or why we're communicating what we're communicating and who we're communicating to, so we can better craft that message. Again, Manny, myself, we do not know your program's ins and outs. We do not know your audience ins and outs. So there needs to be a dialogue that happens between between us and you to understand your audience, to understand your event, to understand your goal, so we can better communicate that. Message development, that's a part of it. Crafting clear, compelling, consistent messages. Channel selection, identifying what is appropriate. If the event is a private event that not everyone can come, then social media doesn't make any sense. If no one can come, if we've already decided who can come and who can't, then we can't really post about or talk about it on social media, because then random people will come up, right? Email, text, website, what are we using and why? Delivering, I alluded to it a little bit ago, that it's more thoughtful processes that exist when we have these meetings to talk about, all right, we've got Carnival Family Fun Day happening on the let's just say in April. So in February, let's go and plan 7 different things that we want to post out through the month to get people amped up about this event, right? And so that's strategic. What's not strategic is just saying, well, we need to send an email, so send the email, and then, oh, no one's coming, so we should probably send out a text message, right? And then, oh, well, they didn't really get it, so I think we need to go back and redesign stuff. That's flying by the seat of your pants. That's just reactive messaging. We want to be strategic and come together before the need, so that we can build a plan to effectively communicate what is happening in your community. So that is it. And I'm going to provide a second here for us to briefly just talk about any extra stuff. I know we're at a minute over time, but just for those of you who need to go, I want to thank you all for being here. I know this is a very deep dive into communications, and I try to make it brief, but it's a lot of information. I, again, will provide this information to you guys in a presentation PDF format, so that you can review it again at your leisure. Thank you for your time, and you all have a great rest of your day.